Several years ago, as you know, North Korea detonated a low-yield atomic bomb in an underground facility, in an underground test. They did that again Monday, as we mentioned yesterday. And they're doing this because the Stalinist regime is collapsing. It is run by the hereditary dictator, as all crime syndicates are, generally in history, just like the Queen of England runs the Commonwealth countries. And he is running that nation completely into the ground. Millions and millions have been starved to death and killed during the 50-plus year reign, it's almost 60-year reign, of these monsters. He and his father. He's preparing to pass it on to one of his little ne'er-do-well sons. Pass on the keys to the 7-story pleasure palace, as it's called. He literally has Asian film stars kidnapped. He's had planes hijacked by his security services to bring him to North Korea because he must have a particular Japanese or South Korean film star. I mean, he is, well, you always see these James Bond-type villains and, you know, villains from history books and fables, fairy tales. Those are based on real personalities throughout history. In fact, the real McCoy, the bona fide, is always worse than what we can even fantasize about. So it's just amazing. The real thing is worse than what any author can conjure up in their minds. I mean, who can conjure up Hitler having some of the assassins, people involved in the plot to try to kill him at the Wolf's Lair, hung with piano wire, and then he would watch it and have them follow him around with a film projector in the film. He would watch it every day for 9 months leading up to him committing suicide in his Berlin bunker. I mean, watching people being executed every day, getting off on it. I digress. It's kind of like tunnel vision, getting hypnotized by the target I'm covering. That happens to a lot of gunners in World War II, flying in with their aircraft, with their cannons and machine guns, firing at a train or a ship. They would kind of get target narcosis and fly right into it. But I mean, just this diminutive, goblin-like, pot-belly, weak, effeminate demon Kim Jong-il. And so you set the New World Order up against him, it makes the New World Order look good. But see, they're far worse because they're more refined and slick in the way they bring in their dehumanization and control. And they move slowly, and they target the strong worldwide. They want to bring society down so they can more easily manage it and cull the population. They are light years more wicked than the uncontrolled psychopath Kim Jong-il of North Korea. But I digress. I was so busy covering other issues and big international films, covering my work yesterday, that I didn't spend enough time on this. And that shows that we all get focused on things that aren't as important as the big geopolitical movements that are taking place. North Korea threatens armed strike into armistice. They basically ended that. That's the headline up on prisonplanet.com. It's absolutely key. Kurt Nimmo also did a story at Infowars.com covering it. The Iranians have had their ships steam out to meet the U.S. forces. I mean, this is just getting more and more insane. Russia fears World War III. So does China. Those are the mainstream headlines. State of war between two Koreas after armistice ended. PrisonPlanet.com. Infowars.com. Kurt Nimmo article. North Korea ends armistice, threatens to attack South Korea. Defiant North Korea fires rockets, blames U.S. Reuters. Russia fears Korea conflict could go nuclear. Interfax. Reuters. North Korea threatens armed strike, ends the armistice. Bloomberg. This is out of South Korean news, the Yonhap News. Agency. North Korea launches additional missiles into East Sea. Official. Japan is threatening to attack them because North Korea shot missiles right over the nation and had intermediate range missiles land just miles off their coast in years past. By the way, Alaska was hit. In fact, I forgot to print this this morning. Will you guys search engine North Korean missile hits Alaska? I want to pull up the exact year. I think it was 2000. Was it 2001? That was actually in Reuters, but never got any other news. It was a dummy ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. Didn't have a MIRV package. It had a single warhead casing without the warhead. It was a test, a drill. Broke up in the atmosphere on reentry and rained down on the frozen tundra of Alaska. Iran sends warships to Gulf of Aden, saying openly they're preparing an attack to engage Israeli and U.S. NATO forces. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact type of jockeying you see right before a major war starts. And what did the RAND Corporation say 5 months ago? And Paul Watson wrote about this. It's in his new article at prisonplanet.com titled State of War Between Two Koreas After Armistice Ended. They said, we need something bigger than the Iran situation, bigger than Iraq, bigger than Afghanistan to bring in the New World Order. And what RAND generally calls for ends up being at least looked at or being carried out in many cases. Big, top think tank to the CFR, to the Trilateral Commission, to the Bilderberg Group, and the different interlocking directorates and steering committees. And they said a conflict in Asia would be desirable between China, Korea, South Korea. And ladies and gentlemen, the globalists mean business. They need a war as a political distraction to say, look, Americans, look, English, look, Europeans, look, South Koreans, look, Chinese, look, Japanese, everybody. And tyranny's descending everywhere. Japan, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, everywhere it's descending. All governments use the threat of terror as a pretext to control. And it's in the cards. I keep telling you for months. Staged flu outbreaks. What did I say in that March 5th show? I came on air and I said this is the third time I have gone on air and warned people in my time on air over the years and specifically said this is a highest level alert from my perspective and my research. I did it once, 2 months before 9/11. And months before that, I led up to that point of giving out the White House phone number and telling them, do not attack the World Trade Centers and blame it on your CIA asset Osama bin Laden and then move into Iraq, Afghanistan to encircle Iran. I did it in the run-up to the 2006 elections. I said, I believe they're about to launch an attack. Cheney was saying we're about to be hit. We will be hit. We're going to have martial law when it happens. I could see all the preparatory phase going on in the media, in the build-up to them staging something as they get the public ready to hand over their rights, kind of like Jim Jones Kool-Aid drinking drills. And that's just one way I gauge it, but that's one of the main things I factor in. And then I put out the alert March 5th, and I said, here are the cards in the New World Order's fist. Flu scare as a smokescreen for setting up the martial law control grid. And I said it may be hot, it may be cold. It may be real, or it may just be hyped to drill and prepare everybody for a future release. And if they go with that, they'll then hype that in the next 6 months, they think the big one's coming. Exactly that happened. I'm on record. That's what happens when all you do is research this from a historical perspective. And I only say that so people pay attention to me. This isn't a game. Now, that said, I said in their fist is the flu card. If they play the flu card, that means they're preparing to play the total economic collapse card. You think things are bad? I mean, an accelerated collapse with massive bankruptcy, shutdowns, the media destroying confidence by design, while then adding a icing of acting like they're trying to fix confidence. So they put out a double message, 80% bad news, 20% good news. That's the psychological algorithm that I've picked up on the enemy transmission. So, we've got that going on. Now, it's important to understand that they play the flu card as a test balloon. And I'm on record saying that's probably what they do. Then if they played that and it wasn't successful, they would probably back off or go with another plan. But it overall was somewhat successful. Almost a draw, but leaning, I'd say, 51% in their favor. The hysteria worked. It didn't work long, but still that's a good smokescreener cover for a martial law hot takeover. Not the cold, incremental takeover we're seeing. It's starting to get a little bit warmer and starting to bubble at the bottom of the pan here. Towards a full boil, if it continues to accelerate.